I know those of you who've been following this channel for a while know that at long last, I think we deserve a unified Forza Barca here. After Valencia, I think this was easily, I can say with great pleasure, Barca's second best game of the season. Still wasn't a clean sheet. The ending was not so great, but from whistle to whistle, Barcelona with a better team, and both of those squads, all 22 guys on the field at any one time, knew that the ones in the Siniera kit were going to win this game and walk away with a road win in Europa League. So with this, I am going to focus on the positive because even though, there was that late goal that did make it, I guess, a little bit interesting. By that point, both teams had kind of already decided what was going to happen in the game. Ricky Puig even was able to make an appearance. Gavi got a late yellow, which isn't great. But I want to get all those negatives out of the way. I think I have one negative just kind of sprinkled in there to the 5 headlines. But by and large, this is going to be overwhelmingly positive. Because again, those who watch this channel regularly know that I do want to focus on the positives, and this match gave me just that. So let's have a little bit of fun. There was a lot of Barcelona goals to talk about, so here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 4-2 win over Napoli in the second leg of the Europa League. One is that speed kills, and we do start with that opening goal. Because for a long time, Barcelona, whether it was defending the counter, whether it was getting out on the counter and the other team shutting things down before Barca could really get any good shot on goal or create the chance, other teams have known what Barca wanted to do. But now that Barca has a little bit of speed, and all of that coming from the January transfer window between Adama Traore and Aubameyang, Barcelona look entirely different on the counterattack. And that first goal showed that those January transfer signings have reignited, have resurrected Barca's counterattack like the Phoenix. Aubameyang and Adama Traore and Jordi Alba, Aubameyang leading the short corner and a perfect dink into the path of Adama. And 9 seconds later, the ball was in the back of the net because Jordi Alba didn't stop running. The guy knows where to go, especially when Barcelona are off to the races, which, as we said, doesn't really happen that often. There isn't much more to break down about this. Adama Traore does what he does well. Put the defender on his back and just keep on trucking, keep on moving. And it was pretty simple to find Alba at the end of the move. And Alba left wide open because, again, that's what a good counterattack looks like. It was a decision for Xavi to start Ferran Torres and Adama Traore instead of Dembélé. It was an interesting decision that Xavi made, but it worked out. We saw Dembélé late on, but the idea that Dembélé can, we'll say, be more influential in the league, where I think you have to say Barca still need them, because as much as the Europa League is important, no Kool-Aid would argue that top 4 in the Liga just means a little bit more than trying to see how far you can get in the Europa League, even if that Europa League title looks a bit closer after this one. I want to thank OneFootball for sponsoring this video. OneFootball is the app I use to keep me up to date on everything FC Barcelona, as well as all the other teams that Alemany might be scouting right now for a big summer transfer window. With a custom-tailored homepage, stay up to date with breaking news, live scores, and even transfer news. While on the go, you can check with matches in live time and watch videos afterwards. Use the link in the description below for a free download of OneFootball on Android or iOS to put all your football in one place. And you'll also help out a tiny Barca channel like this one too. Thanks again to OneFootball for sponsoring this video. Now back to the on-field business. 2 is sell Frenkie de Jong. For $100 million, I think that's about what that goal is going for. Now, of course, that headline's completely in jest. Actually, do the opposite. Make sure that all those who were calling for Frenkie de Jong's head yesterday at least give him a little bit more time. Does he fit? Is he the perfect midfielder for Xavi in the system he wants to run? I'm not sure. Is he the successor as a single pivot to Sergio Busquets in next season and beyond? Again, I'm not sure. There are issues with Frenkie de Jong at FC Barcelona that I think are still going to linger throughout this season and maybe throughout his whole career. He's not a perfect player for this kind of system with the players around him. However, you saw tonight when things start to work, when things click, and when everything that Frenkie de Jong, all that effort is rewarded, all that movement is rewarded. His ability to dribble into space was rewarded, especially with that goal, a golazo for sure. And that goal, too, is a big goal in a big moment. A goal that went a long, long way in putting the tie to bed early. It started from a long ball from Ter Stegen that's headed backwards by a Napoli player, and Ferran Torres makes the move, and a nice piece of skill lays it back, but it's all about Frenkie. Dribbling into that space, gaining confidence with every yard, and just delivering the ball into the back of the net. With that goal, it was 6 years since Barca had scored 2 goals away from home in a knockout match in Europe. That stack coming from Siempre Positivos and friend of the pod, Tony Juan Martí. For a few weeks now, there's been this hypothesis that keeps growing and growing in steam that Barca's midfield is the best of those units. That being between the defense and the attack, all of the other ones still seem to have something to work out. But now that that midfield looks healthy, and Pedri coming back was a big part of that, you could see the rotation, You could see that players are fitting into their roles. They know who they are. They know where they need to be. And especially Franky and Busquets, they have now, to my money, put together 3 consistent performances, the best of which we've seen those 3 together all season long. 3 is mistakes are forgiven, and let's start with the goal at the end there, because at that point, it said things were over, so we're going to forget that one. We're going to forgive that one. But even individual things, it tells you that this team as a unit is working well together, because I don't really have any criticisms in the way that Xavi built his team. Of course, when you score 8 goals in 2 matches, it's hard to criticize, sure. But the way he built his team, the lineups he chose, the 11s, the positioning, all of those things, it's difficult when Barca are playing this well to try to nitpick the entire team as a unit. And that means that the individual mistakes made by players are a little bit easier to accept. For example, Aubameyang, his first touch in this game wasn't great, but he scored a goal, did his job, created the counterattack on the first goal, and gave you everything you needed from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang today for Barca to win. Adama Traoré, the exact same thing. The guy was delivering assists, he was getting out on that counterattack, he was working hard defensively, and what was struggling? His final ball, something that was never promised to you. Though he is picking up assists, I want to mention that too, but they're not all the perfect ball. So you can forgive the bad of Aubameyang and Adama Traoré because you more than enough got the good from them to get a victory today. And it wasn't just those two. Ronald Araujo, not great with his first touch, not great with his ball distribution today, but his defending was exactly what Barca needed it to be in that first half. And with Piqué contending with Osimhen, it was all about Araujo basically covering all that other space and making sure that he could help Dest direct traffic. Dest, for his part, was good, not great and amazing offensively, but he didn't need to be because of the way that Barcelona were so compact and getting out together as a unit. And Dest just made the right decisions over and over and over again. Didn't bite off too much more than he could chew. And defensively, between he and Araujo, as I keep saying, Araujo next to Dest gets the best out of Dest defensively, and that happened again today. The two guys we continue to worry about is Ferran Torres, who does seem desperate for a goal, and you get the sense that with his spatial awareness, with his ability in the past we've seen to finish, they're coming. Those goals are coming, and again, when your team scores 8 goals in 2 games, even if you don't score, you probably did something right. You were probably a part of something right. Same thing with Ter Stegen, but also not, because his distribution was better than it was against Valencia, but Ter Stegen, not so great, made one bad decision that kept Napoli in this game, and pretty inexcusable from Ter Stegen. His struggles are going to continue, and probably, again, the only mistake that is harder to forgive for any Barca player, giving up that penalty to Osimhen. Insigne scores with Ter Stegen frozen, and it was a soft penalty, yeah, but a bad decision by Ter Stegen. I just don't know why he came out in the first place, but thankfully, that mistake by Ter Stegen didn't cost Barca. And hopefully, and I do say hopefully here, Ter Stegen can clean those things up or continue to get his confidence back because it is really at an all-time low. But you're hoping that all those goals for Barca's attack gives Ter Stegen some renewed confidence in his game between the sticks. 4 is a day for Piqué. It was hard to pick the man of the match here, but as far as defending Osimhen basically out of this game and getting a goal himself, there certainly is a case for Gerard Piqué to be man of the match here, especially for all the work he did in the first 45 minutes. Even the goal that's scored by Piqué is, we'll say, an unorthodox Barca goal because it comes off a broken play off a corner. So a counter-attacking goal, 2 goals off throw-ins against Valencia, and then this one coming off a broken play off a corner. Yeah, that means that Barcelona are making their own luck here, and I'm loving it. Piqué gets the goal after a deflected cross from Alba, falls right into his path, and as I said, Barca making their own luck. Piqué's 17th goal in European club competitions, 6 of them coming against Italian sides, so doing his work against the Serie A teams. And one of the reasons I think Piqué was so successful today is that Barca were keeping things very compact, vertically. And by keeping things compact, it allows Barca to play a high enough line that Pedri and De Jong are able to close down the space between the midfield and the back line, as long as Araujo, Piqué, and Dest can slow it down with proper positioning. And led by Piqué, with the versatility and athleticism of Araujo, and I'd say actually the strong tactical awareness that Dest showed today and against Valencia, Barcelona were prepared to shut down Osimhen, and Insigne didn't really do much either coming in from the left side. 5 is a little bit of both, because speaking of Napoli, I don't think we've talked enough about how the fact that Barca were good, but Napoli were also pretty bad. If Culés were Napoli supporters instead, I would try to avoid those social media channels, just like I don't like to interact with the Barca ones after a nasty loss or a game where Culés are just disappointed in their team, because Napoli were disappointing on the night, and that's not to take anything away from Barca. But Napoli were giving Barca chances time and time again. Busquets was winning the ball back high. That was at the center of that, really, Busquets. At times, setting up at the edge of the penalty box even. Napoli had to do Deme for Politano at halftime. They had to. Barca are fortunate that Politano hasn't been fit. Sure, he's been one of Napoli's best players this year. But Deme was downright bad tonight. Diego Deme man-marking Sergio Busquets was a mistake from the coaching staff for Napoli to think that that was going to work because Busquets didn't really have to move much. And even then, Busquets, it wasn't all about how great he was. Napoli kept just giving him the ball. It was one thing when Busquets, on 12 different occasions, had ball recoveries against Valencia. It was another thing today, where he had almost half the ball recoveries against Napoli, and yet Barca were creating more chances, it felt like, today against Napoli. But where I switch this back is that fourth goal for Barca was a Barca goal where they deserved it. And it wouldn't have mattered who was across on the other side. They went pass to pass to pass to pass to pass to pass, building up through the middle. Busquets, Araujo, Pedri, De Jong, lulling the opposition to sleep. And then it went out to Adama Traore. De Jong continues his run into the box. It's a dummy for Aubameyang, who finishes clinically. That's a Barca goal. Set it up, build it through, lull the opponent to sleep, and then finish with that killer instinct. That gives me hope that Barca are getting back to what culés are expecting to see. So there it is, on to the next round. Will Barca win the Europa League? It's unlikely that they will, because anything can happen in knockout competitions. But it's unlikely because of that reason, instead of that Barca aren't good enough or aren't up to it. Because before this tie happened, I was with you. I agreed that Barca were just about as good as Napoli, or maybe even on form at least, not as good as Napoli, because Napoli are third in Serie A and had some good results heading into this tie. But Barcelona took care of business and come out of this tie looking like a better team than just 2 weeks ago. This team is good enough to win Europa League and good enough to comfortably, yes, comfortably finish top 4 in the Liga. And all of these recent performances being strung together are starting to prove to you that this isn't a fluke. It's not just a good uptick of form, that this might actually be what Barcelona is capable of. It is Athletic Club on the weekend. I don't need to tell you about any of the recent history between these two, so I implore you, no matter what happens, please at least carry Valencia and Napoli with you. This team is building something. There will be hiccups along the road, but Barcelona are closer to what you're expecting and wanting to see consistently match after match after match. If you don't want any more positives, well, then maybe don't listen to tomorrow's podcast. But if you do want to enjoy this 4-2 win with me against Napoli, again, podcast coming out tomorrow. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss it. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.